And Michael Morell is a former #2 at the CIA and is now our senior security contributor here at CBS News. Mr. Morell, in recent weeks, we had the Islamic extremists shoot up the shop in Sydney, Australia. Before that, we had the man attack the Parliament building in Ottawa, Canada. How is what happened today different than those attacks?
Scott, there are two things that stand out to me in terms of what's different. One is the attacks you mentioned were lone individuals. This was obviously 3 individuals. That makes this a conspiracy. It's much more difficult to carry out a conspiracy with multiple individuals than it is to do a lone attack. So that's one difference. The other difference to me is the sophistication of this attack. The planning that it took, the way it was carried out in military style is very, very different than what we saw in the other attacks.
We have a picture of a French police car, and you can see the bullet holes in the windshield are grouped very tightly together. What does that tell you?
So that, again, is part of what tells me that this was a sophisticated attack, and it also tells me that at least one of the individuals that fired that weapon had some sort of military training.
Because they knew what they were doing. Who do you think this is at this early point? Is it ISIS or is it Al-Qaeda?
We don't have any links at this point between these 3 individuals and either Al-Qaeda overseas or ISIS in the Middle East. But if I were to guess, Scott, I would suggest that this points more to Al-Qaeda than to ISIS. Why would I say that? Al-Qaeda has been very focused on media outlets that have lampooned the Prophet Muhammad.
These 3 men are still on the loose. What is the concern?
The big concern is whether or not they would conduct additional attacks before they were captured. But what usually happens in these kind of situations, Scott, is these kind of individuals hold up somewhere, barricade themselves, and go out in a blaze of glory.
So there could be more violence ahead?
Yes.
What does this say about security in the United States?
What this says is that we increasingly need to worry about attacks against soft targets, what are considered soft targets. Soft targets are where there is not a lot of security. And increasingly, we're seeing terrorists focused on softer targets because the harder targets are getting more difficult.
Michael Morell, former #2 of the CIA, thanks very much again.
Welcome.